Restaurant Unstoppable, episode 718 with Kristina Zhao. All right, with excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Kristina Zhao. Kristina, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Oh, I'm never stoppable.
Yeah, yes, I love it. So, Kristina, you have a unique entry into this industry. You are a unique guest for me. Typically, I have my guests have at least 5 years of experience of owning, and usually before that, they were working in incredible restaurants around the country. You've been in the industry for 5 years.
That's right.
Yes. So, just real quickly, give us an aerial view of who you are, and then we'll share the success quote.
So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and I went to Health Careers High School. So I was on the path to being groomed for medical school. That never happened. I went to the University of Texas and studied communications, corporate communications and public relations. And I got into the wireless industry on the B2B side, working with retailers, like individuals like yourself and myself who could distribute these products to consumers.
Okay.
And then after that, I got into the medical field a little bit, dabbled in that, and then I dived headfirst into the restaurant business.
In 2015, your dad gives you a call and says, come join the family business. And here we are 5 years later, you're crushing it. And I'm really excited. So it was actually Anna Tauzin that told me to reach out to you. And the reason why Anna told me to reach out to you is because Anna is like my secret nerd. And she's probably shaking her head right now saying, thanks, Dick. But she's like my secret nerd that she's a person I go to for tech questions. I was even trying to get her to start her own podcast to collaborate with Restaurant Unstoppable. And she said to me, you've got to get Kristina on. She's killing it down there in San Antonio. And she, in 2 months, has went from 80% full service. Your business was 80% full service, correct?
Correct.
2 months ago, 80%.
That's right.
And you weren't really geared for online ordering or delivery before this, were you? A little bit,
but
and now
right.
you said you're 10% down from this time last year.
We're 10% down as a whole, like from January of the entire year.
Got you. But still, only 10% down during this time when you lost 80% of your business.
That's right.
So that's so incredible.
Well,
so we're here today to kind of unpackage how you approach this pivot to online ordering and delivery. But we also want to share your story because I think it's super inspirational that you come into this industry with zero experience and you're having the success you're having. So I think there's an entrepreneur in there that I want to bring to the surface and make an example of. So that's what we're going to do today. And before we get into that story, I want to get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
So there's 3. It's rule your mind or it will rule you.
Nice.
Happiness is a state of mind. It's a way of living.
Okay.
And it's not a destination.
Yes.
And not taking no for an answer.
Yeah. So all these quotes are very much mindset quotes.
Absolutely.
Why is mindset so important?
Because you, at the end of the day, the only person that you can be in control of is yourself.
Yes.
You're not able to control what other people do, obviously, and you can't control their responses, and you can't expect them to change. So you can only change your environment and do what you can do in your power to influence.
Yeah. Do you ever lose your shit still?
Oh, all the time.
So when you find yourself losing your shit, because we all preach, right? Mindfulness,
Sure.
but we all lose our shit. So when you do lose your shit, how do you get yourself back on track?
Well, I don't usually lose my shit over small things, and maybe my small things might be big things for other people. It really just depends. And if I do, a lot of times you just have to take a step back and take a breather, and a lot of problems kind of resolve themselves. It's an amazing thing that happens.
I lost my shit last night. Casey, he's off camera somewhere. I think he's behind me. We were trying to order, ironically, we were trying to order food online. I won't say the name of the restaurant because they're a staple in Austin. I don't want to give them I don't want to say anything bad about anybody. Sure. But it took us over 45 minutes to try to get the work through this technology. We finally gave up and called to place our order, and I threw my phone across the room and I lost my shit. And it's weird because I always preach mindfulness too, but we lose our shit.
And that's okay. You're a human. You're allowed to. And,
exactly.
and sometimes you just have to get it out. And once it's out, you're just like, it's nothing personal. I just had to release that.
I think it's important to own it though.
Absolutely.
When you do lose your shit, just say, I lost my shit.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
You know?
That's very important as well.
Yes. Go. Awesome way to get this thing started. I knew this was going to be a great interview. So where does it make sense? I mean, you kind of gave us the aerial view, right? But I like to say behind every great restaurant's a great person, and the people that influence us early in our lives are kind of help make us into the person we are, and our journey makes us into the person we are. So take us just real quick through your journey before getting into the restaurant industry. Any key lessons, any key parts of your life that really formed who you are today? Any where we can hover over?
Well, I think the entire journey is incredible. It's ups and downs. It's a lot of self-reflection, a lot of different relationships that come and go, different influential people in your lives. People who've inspired me, my parents for sure. I mean, they came to the United States with nothing. And at the age of 30, you're asking me about, being in the restaurant business for 5 years only. These people came to the United States when they were 30 years old, not a penny to their name, no language skills, and they're able to create an environment for their children to grow and to grow up to be contributing members to this society.
Yeah. So your dad, before he opened the restaurant, he had his own grocery store.
He does. Right? He has a grocery store right up the street from our restaurant, and he's been in that business since 97. And that has helped us greatly because we are vertically integrated into, the two businesses are
I love vertical integration, so maybe we can get into that. So was the grocery store? Are you guys focusing on sourcing Chinese?
Yes, it is.
Staples?
It's a Pan Asian grocery store. Okay. So he went from being in a 800 square foot space, and then we moved into a 2,000 square foot space.
So your dad's very much an entrepreneur.
He is, but he's a one man. Like he does everything himself, and everything is up here in his mind. I don't know how he does it because I love technology and I rely on technology to do a lot of things.
Right. So let's take some lessons about your dad. Reflecting on the man your dad is, in what ways has he influenced and shaped who you are as a woman today?
Well, so interesting enough, my mother was the disciplinarian growing up, and my father, after he started his business, he didn't spend a lot of time at home. My mother taught us a lot. She had me organizing receipts and doing stuff when I was really little, like these skills that who knows when they come into play. Yeah. But he was always like, how do I explain this?
Be careful, he's listening.
I know, right? It would be along the lines of, Mom, can I do something? No, you can't do it. Dad, can I go do something? Well, if your mother says you can do it, then that's fine. Mom, Dad said I could do XYZ. Can I go do it? And then I'm sure they have a conversation of that. So he was more of the enabler. Okay. Have the daddy's little princess kind of thing going on. But then coming back to the restaurant and moving back home after being on my own for so long, it was completely different. Yeah. And then the dynamics of the workplace are completely different too, because you've got a guy who's been in business for, let's say, 20 years already, and me, this little pipsqueak that he's known all my life since he birthed me, or she birthed me. But
he had a part in it.
He's a part of it, yes. And then being afraid, he is probably in many ways afraid to let go because he doesn't want to see me fail. Okay. But I have to prove that I can do this, and then and we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things too, because of the cultural dynamics and the way that we do things, because he's coming from nothing and having to build everything from scratch, whereas I went to school here and learned all these different things, and I have all these different mentalities where he's like, that doesn't make sense. Why are you doing it this way? Lots of those kinds of arguments back and forth, and it's been an interesting journey.
I think we should all try to start from scratch, though. I think that some people, when they get into this industry, they have this vision, this lofty vision, this dream concept that they want that on day one. It doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
On day one. It happens from where you can start with nothing.
That's right.
Right? And if you can't make it start from nothing, then...
That's right. And so what's interesting is all my prior experiences, I've never been in the corporate world per se. So I've always been in a situation where we don't have a budget for things, where we don't have a specific protocol for things, where I have this freedom, creative freedom to do it. But guess what? You don't have any money to do it. Yeah. You can be as creative as you want, but you have essentially not very much to use. But I do agree with you that it is very important to start from nothing and start from the ground up, because you earn your stripes and you earn that respect. Like how could I command a team when I have never been in the dish pit myself? Right. It's like I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. In fact, we just had this conversation the other day. We had a leak in the kitchen, and my father was here, and he's like, do you know that there's been a leak in the kitchen for 6 days? And I'm like, well, where is this leak? You're like, well, I don't need you to do it. I'm like, Dad, if I don't know where the leak is, how am I? Well, that's what the chefs are supposed to do. Well, Dad, I also need to tell them where to look for it and so forth. It's just interesting dynamics and learning to speak to each other in different ways. About 6 months ago, I adopted a British persona that freaked everybody out. They thought I was going through some type of midlife crisis.
Did you hit your head or something?
Possibly. What happened was I bought a house. That's really what happened.
I'd rather hit my head.
The two are pretty similar. But I adopted this accent because my mother was home visiting, and for whatever reason, when I spoke in this fake British accent, she was responding to it, and she was laughing and playing around, and I was like, I should just speak like this forever. But
all people listen, right?
Right. And it's like, it's fascinating when you
Can we get it? Can we hear it? I'm curious. Let's get a sample.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you're putting me on the spot. So it's a fascinating thing that happens when you start speaking in English. People start understanding you better.
So that was great. Thank you for doing that. So keep going with your story.
Oh my goodness. So I've lost track of where we were.
You were talking about how just communicating with your dad, right? And you were talking about the sink, and then you started using this English accent, and people started listening all of a sudden. Was your train of thought?
Yes, and a big takeaway from that is learning how to communicate. Ironically, I majored in corporate communications, and at the time, people were like, why are you going to school to learn how to communicate? You don't know how to talk? Yeah. Well, there's an art to it. Yeah. You have to be very specific in who you're talking to, when you're talking to, what is the purpose of your message, how are they going to perceive it. So you dive into the psychology of people, and then on that note, you have to really get to know that person. You have to be relatable, and you have to understand what is motivating this person. How can I communicate my message to him in a way, or her in a way that is meaningful to them, and that they will understand why it's important to me?
Got you.
And that also translates into the relationship building with my parents. But it's challenging because there is also a cultural barrier where, and I do speak Chinese, and I guess I'm a little bit blessed in the sense that I have no issues enunciating things. So people oftentimes give me way more credit for my mastery of the language. And so when I use a vocabulary word that's not quite correct, they blow up at me.
Your parents.
And our chefs. Okay. And I'm like, wait, just kidding. That's not what I meant. And then I go to my phone and Google Translate, what are all the other different words that mean the same thing? So
I love it. So there was a huge lesson in there, just like, again, just the how to communicate, right? And when you're communicating with somebody, you need to, the word is empathy, right? Get into their mind.
That's right.
Like, how can I use the words to make what needs to be communicated resonate the most with them?
It's the fine line between leadership and manipulation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, persuasion, I think, is the word to use, right?
Yes,
and persuasion is, what's the difference between manipulation and persuasion? Persuasion
the intention,
is,
I believe.
What's that?
The intention.
Exactly, right? And manipulation is getting somebody to do something without them even being aware of it, really. But I think persuasion is to say, hey, this is what I want to do for us, and I'm trying to convince you, I'm trying to sell you on this idea, this thought for us to go here together, right? And I want to persuade you, I want to influence you to do this thing.
I want to present my points to you in a way that, and I need to make sure that you receive these points in the way that I intended them. Yeah.
So you grew up in the grocery business, basically, watching your dad and your mom working and just starting from nothing and growing this thing, vertical integration. You decided to go, or they had a plan for you to go to medical school, correct? Side note, I love that there's kitchen noises in the background right now because it means I'm back on site and it feels so good. Sorry.
Oh, good. No worries.
So keep going.
They never said that, like, I have to go to medical school, but my parents were... They did everything they could to set us up for success, and they wanted us to learn more, to be knowledgeable. And your medical profession, it's a steady, or what's perceived to be a steady career as you progress in life, and so it's a safe choice, not and that's kind of how it was. But they never said that you have to, or we're going to disown you or anything like that.
Got you. So you didn't go to medical school.
I
You
did
ended
not.
up studying communication, like we just discussed.
Mhm.
You also ended up working at a mobile phone company,
Mhm.
and you got into other tech,
Mhm.
B2B tech, right?
A little bit.
I'm trying to pull bits and pieces of your
Gotcha.
story. But I know there was one woman during our pre-interview chat
Mhm.
that had a huge influence on you. She said, is
Yes.
that safe to say? You know who I'm talking about?
Yes,
right
I
now.
do.
Okay.
So I was in the wireless business on the B2B side. My job was to take care of all of the accounts who were selling the wireless product. And at one point, I had about 180 stores under my distribution area. It was Dallas, Dallas and West Texas. Those were some long drives.
Yeah.
And so, but after the wireless business, I got into the medical field briefly, and I was helping out a physician in Dallas. Her name is Dr. Hong Davis. She's a family practitioner who specializes in anti-aging medicine. And anti-aging medicine is not just like your cosmetic Botox, things like that. It's the philosophy of treating yourself to be healthy as opposed to waiting until you're sick to treat yourself.
Okay.
And
Food as medicine.
yes,
kind of.
that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And she is a significant figure in my life because of her leadership, the way the relationships that I see her have with her team. And we still have a great relationship. We talk all the time. And just enabling and telling me that, hey, things are going to be okay here. You don't have to feel bad. This stuff happens in life, and just being there. And the time that she was there for me in my life was just so needed. I can't really put into words. I always say the universe works in wonderful ways most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's true.
So she would really just, again, I think kind of this whole mindfulness mantra that we started with, right?
Absolutely.
Like we as animals, we are
Mhm.
animals. We can't forget that we are, we came from monkeys, right? And we still have parts of those in us. And we we're reactive. Like when stuff comes up, we get reactive and we
right.
get stressed out. We need to fix this right now. And like, oh my God, like this is a threat,
Mhm.
and we need to deal with this threat. But we get so close to it sometimes, right? And we just get overwhelmed and we just swell with this anxiety, and it's so unnecessary.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
And she taught you it sounds like she taught you to recognize that.
She did. She
and
was
to
a
kind
very
of-
patient lady, very, very just outgoing, full of life and energy and joy. And despite what's happening around her, I mean, and the takeaway from that is you can never stop other things that are happening.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to be.
You don't have to respond to it.
You don't have to respond to it. I mean, sometimes we do have to respond to
Yeah.
it, but you don't have to be angry about it because it's not. Why get angry? It's not going to change that it happened.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with it.
They happen. That's a pain in the ass. But getting
Right.
angry is not going to fix the
That's
issue.
right, and it's gonna give you wrinkles.
Yep.
And
Or make you lose your hair, which is
That's
why I have them.
yes. Well, and it was so interesting because Dr. Davis, it was a friend of my mother's, and I had met her when I was very young, when I was about probably 8, 9, 10 years old. And she was actually a student of my grandfather's in China. So this is this weird, small world. But even though she comes from a very traditional background too, her approach and my parents' approach for that parenting style or that leadership style is just so different. Not to say one is better than the other, but they definitely offer to complement and they balance each other out. And that balance is so desperately needed.
Yes. I'm going to remember this conversation the next time I want to throw my phone across the room ordering food.
Because then you're going to have to just replace your phone.
Yeah. Right? It just compounds. Any other key lessons, key mentors before coming on board to work with your dad at Sichuan House?
Well, my mother is a huge inspiration, along with my father, because they did everything themselves. And
It seems like your mom might have taught you a lot of discipline, just from what I picked up so far.
She did. She was a disciplinarian, and she's also absolutely. I was so angry at my mother growing up because anytime I had any issues with school with any teacher, I would tell her about it, and other kids, their parents would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. So and so didn't do blah 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 blah." My mother is like,
She kept it real.
What did you do wrong? What could you have done differently? And what could you have did you miss something here? And always kind of introspective looking at yourself, which I really, really hated at the time, because I was like, I am not looking for you to tell me that I did something wrong.
Yeah,
I just want you to hug me and tell me that it's okay.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, that makes me an incredibly resilient person. And I do try to pass that on to our team too, because we are in hospitality.
Yeah.
You can't say it's your fault, customer. We have
Exactly.
to say, okay, we messed up here.
Yeah.
Let me take care of it for you.
Yes.
And so forth.
And take us to the point where you're getting into the restaurant. First, like, how did that even go down? Like, did your parents just call you and say, guess what? Like, new plans?
Well, my father is a phenomenal cook himself, and he's been encouraged throughout the years by others to open up a restaurant.
Yeah. Is his passion food? Because he was a grocer. So is it bringing Chinese culture?
It was the
Asian
original.
culture?
His first store. It was actually called 华人服务中心, and what that means
Got it.
is it's got it. Yes, yes. What it actually means, it's a center for Chinese immigrants who come to this. Essentially, it's a center, a resource center, and he started out doing water softener systems. Hence, we have this beautiful RO water here.
The water's delicious.
And he did range hood installations because our cooking has a lot of smoke and fumes, all the high heat sautéing. And he did satellite dishes installations for Chinese satellite TV. And back then, these dishes were this big, and that's how he started. And little by little, he added on to his store, sourcing in produce that were like lychee fruit, from like back in the day, longan fruit, and just things you would not find in the HEBs. And even now, example of like say trumpet royal mushrooms, you might find those at, not to throw anybody under the bus, but you find them at Whole Foods for $19.99 a pound. You can get them at Asian Market for $5.99 a pound.
Damn, why so expensive?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because people don't know what trumpet royale mushrooms are. I guess. I don't know.
So he's always been kind of passionate about sourcing Chinese culture.
Yes, absolutely. And they grew up in a very interesting time too. Both sides of my parents' families were landlords, which is a group that is not that. In Chinese history, when the Communist Party first took over, they were groups that were looked down upon, and so their families lost everything. And both of my parents started working when they were 10, 11. They didn't go to middle school, they didn't go to high school, they studied themselves and got into college. And so my father was a chemistry teacher back in China, and my mother was a neurologist back in China.
With no formal education, your dad became a chemistry teacher.
Right.
That's incredible.
I mean, they self-taught. Like they were
but
very,
that's
very.
and, what's the word? There's an autodidact? Is it like self-taught or something like that? I
Maybe.
think, yeah. But that's incredible. So, so he started he had the grocery business, and then why a
What I
restaurant?
was going to say is so there's also a story that I've heard. My father said to my mother, I'm not going to be able to offer you all the riches in the world or promise you anything like that, but I'll always make sure that you have a roof over your head, a safe home, and food on the table.
What else can you ask for?
Food on the table.
Yeah.
And so now we have a restaurant and a grocery store. So we're never going to go hungry.
Okay.
But that food is such a big component in the Chinese culture, in a lot of cultures too. I mean, food essentially, it brings people together.
Yeah.
And the way that we do our service here, it is family style because we encourage that camaraderie. And there's so many memes. There's a group on Facebook, the Subtle Asian Traits Facebook group, and it has this thing about Asian dads, and it's Asian's dad guide to apologizing, right? And then the next line says, cut fruit. So that's his love language. Like that's how we show hospitality. That's how we welcome you. The first thing you walk into someone's home, they're like, hey, have you eaten yet?
You know, it's so funny you're saying this because it's always been a dream of mine to do a little side hustle where I travel around the world and I just study what hospitality is and what it means and how they show it in different cultures. I think that would be an incredible project. I just gave that idea away to the world. Don't steal my idea, guys.
But on that note, so one time I was preparing for a team meeting, and wanted to dive into this concept of, or this idea of hospitality. And so I looked up the word hospitality, and one of the definitions that I found was, of course, there's the word, I want to know why the word hospital is in the word hospitality. And there's a 13th century definition that defines a hospital as a place for the needy. So it doesn't mean a medical center is a hospital for people who are sick.
Yeah.
A restaurant is a hospital for people who are hungry. A hotel is a hospital for people who are tired.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting. I never knew that. I knew like the definition of hospital or hospitality was warmth, generosity, giving.
Sure.
So it makes sense that if
It's
if
a
you're
place for
yeah
somebody
to
who's
receive
needy.
exactly, it makes complete sense. So when did your dad open the restaurant?
We opened in 2015.
Okay,
and
so you opened the restaurant in 2015. This wasn't something he started before 2015
No.
and then asked you to come on. So when he opened, he said, "Hey, Kristina,
not
come."
quite like that either.
How'd it go?
So at that time, my mother was a neurologist back in China, and when she moved over here, she worked in the psychiatry department. And between helping her husband with his business and bringing up 2 kids, she was studying to retake her board exams and so forth. And so she was offered a position as a psychiatrist up in New York.
Okay.
And I was still living in Dallas at the time, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I decided to come back to help. And see, that's also an interesting point that will start or spark conversation, because when we got into some of these arguments, they will all, like, my father will say, "Well, I didn't ask you to come down here. You just came down here." But after seeing some of the things that I did that worked, he stopped saying that.
So what's the picture look like now? How involved is your dad with the restaurant, and how involved are you? Like who's the shot caller at this point?
I think we have a very mutually respectful relationship of each other. Since day one, my father has let me run the front of house.
Okay.
The back of house is a little bit different because our chefs are specialized in Chinese cooking, and then a lot of them came over here later in life, and there is a language barrier between my front and back of house staff. We use Google Translate and so forth. And then there's that cultural dynamics too. So he's had to help me a lot in communication in that way. And throughout the years,
Because you're fluent in
learned.
Chinese, but you don't quite have all the cultural, because you grew up in the States, correct?
Right, and it's little things like the way that we talk to each other. Example, so we on our point of sales, we have the item in English and then it has it in Chinese, but we accidentally missed a translation and it was left off. One of my chefs comes out and he says, because it didn't have, it said add vegetables or something like that, and he's like, "Well, the system doesn't have it on there." It's like, and so the immediate response is to push off the blame, and instead of saying, "Hey, can you add this? I noticed that you missed a translation here."
Yeah, let's not let that happen again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the way that they communicate is different, and I hate to generalize like that, but I do see it a lot in the older generation because they never learned about how people can perceive their message differently just because of the way that they say it.
Okay, so when you came on, your dad saw like right away that you had a talent, that you were making recommendations using technology. Actually, paint that picture of what the restaurant was like before you came here, and then we'll kind of talk about the evolution.
I came into the restaurant about 2-3 weeks after it opened.
Okay.
I initially got involved when he was like, "Hey, this opportunity came up. I'm going to take over this." This place was an existing restaurant before, and he was going to take over this place.
What was the restaurant that was here before?
I believe it was like 4-star Chinese restaurant.
So it was
or
a Chinese
something.
restaurant.
It was a Chinese
So it was
restaurant already.
turnkey.
Like yes,
Which
a
is
little
another
bit.
great lesson right there.
Ish. So the first thing that I was involved in is he had this menu, and because of my experience in high school from Photoshop and in journalism and newspaper and yearbook, I was familiar with these Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign programs where I laid out the menu originally. That's how it all started.
Okay.
And then I moved back down about 2-3 weeks later, and we were using just a very, very basic point of sale system because we didn't know what we needed at the time.
Do you know the name of that point?
No, I can't remember.
That's fine. Keep going.
It was so far ago. I knew nothing about being in the restaurant because I never served tables. I never was a bartender.
That's why I love your story because I feel like if this is 5 years ago, keep in mind, right? And here you guys are today. There's so many people that just find themselves in the restaurant industry, and it can be so overwhelming because there's a whole language in itself in the restaurant industry, a whole culture, subculture within the restaurant industry. If you're new to that and you're now the boss's daughter, right? And now you're becoming the boss, right? And like that transition must have been hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how take us through that evolution of not really knowing much, but having some skills, loving technology, knowing the benefit in technology. And it seems like you started injecting a lot of technology early on, or is that not really?
Well, getting started, I listened to your podcast.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What?
Because I had no knowledge.
That's crazy. I keep on forgetting that these get broadcasted.
Right, that's right. Listen to your podcast.
Well, thank you.
I read books. One of the tools I still use is Blinkist. I love it. It's an app that compiles a lot of different books, all sorts of topics, but it shortens them into 10 to 15 minute synopsises. And if you find it to be interesting, of course, you can dive deeper into the book if you want to, but I can absorb a lot of information very quickly. But I listened to Raising the Bar, talking about starting from the inside four walls. Of course, and we learned that in public relations too. So I had some foundation. It's very interesting how the past experiences that I had were applicable just in a different way in the restaurant setting. And I've always loved food. I love to eat and I love to cook myself. And so it was also an opportunity to dive deeper into my culture. And when I first got here, I'm looking around and we're surrounded probably in this 1 mile radius by 7 other Chinese restaurants. I've got one down the street here who's advertising $4.99 lunch specials and $7.99 dinner specials. And I took a step back and I was wondering, why are we doing this to ourselves? We're working just as hard as any other business. Why are we going to price compete with each other down to the ground?
That in my opinion was the demise of our industry and putting us in the situation we are now, where our margins are so small. We did it to ourselves. We should fix a percentage of the profit we're going to make and say that's what we're going to make, this percentage, whatever it is, 10%, 15%, whatever it is to you. That's the basic, and then you just charge whatever you have to charge to get that, and then you make sure the value is there.
You have to build your product and build your brand. And so realizing that, we did at the very, very beginning have the lunch combos and so forth. But what was interesting is my chefs were getting confused. It's like, do I make the lunch size or the dinner size? I'm like, well, it's lunch right now, dude. but because of that confusion, I just decided to eliminate it. Of course, that was met with concern from my father. But the other part is he has a full grocery store he has to run.
Yeah.
He really can't. He doesn't have the ability to be as micromanagement of me as he wanted to.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a forced.
So I just want to make sure I completely understand. So when you think of your traditional American Chinese restaurant, there's combinations there's usually like choice A1, A2, A3, or B5. And that's how you pick what you want.
Right.
You get different combinations. What you said is, why are we doing that? Why are we just creating the same options as the place, all the other places around us? Let's just create our own menu. And I noticed, because I actually came here earlier in the week to kind of do a little research to
we were
to
secret shopped.
Yes, and I was surprised because your menu is not very traditional. Like you have fun with your menu. You have unique names for the menu items, not like your traditional.
Playful.
Not like your traditional Chinese.
This
store.
menu update actually is recent. We did this menu, I want to say October or November of this last year.
Yeah.
And it's inspired by cocktail names. I mean, think about you go to a bar and you order a Manhattan. You don't order a set ingredients in a Manhattan.
Yeah.
But with restaurant dish names, it's like you have dry wok sauteed green beans. It's boring.
Yeah.
And people don't read anyways. And what I found. And if you have an interesting name, at least they don't glimpse over that.
Like, what's that?
Like, what is that? So I'm going to read the ingredients underneath. And then it also kind of forced my staff to inadvertently have to learn the dishes too.
Yeah. But I think it also, the other thing, and this is kind of why it's always fun, and a lot, like if I was giving somebody advice who wanted to open a restaurant, I would say go try to get a job at the best restaurants that you can get into, and go learn from the best. But I've been so surprised by people like yourself who have zero experience that come in, and I think that sometimes not having that experience, having a clean slate,
right,
in your own perspective, you come in and then you just see like, why are we doing it like this? Well, because all the other restaurants I went to that I learned from did it like this.
That's
and then
an interesting
now you come into the
point.
industry, you have none of those habits. You're like, well, this in my mind
doesn't make sense.
With this clean slate mind of mine says this makes way more sense to do it like this.
Right.
But I just spit all over the mic. Good thing we're using the special mic covers.
That's right.
So by having that blank slate, you see the world differently, and you can create unique selling propositions because of it. And that's what happened in your case.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I mean, make no mistake, I have not been shorted by sorry, I'm all tongue tied. There has not been a shortage of industry veterans and mentors that have come into my life that I'm so grateful for. And what has kept me in this business is the extreme amount of camaraderie there is. People always say that it is a cutthroat industry, and I believe that it is. Absolutely.
I was afraid to start this podcast because I was afraid people would be like, I'm not going to tell you my industry secrets.
Right.
But I've known that it's the most successful people who are also the most generous. And that's why there's definitely a correlation there.
There is, and then the other part of that is your secret to success is not just one recipe. I can give you all of my recipes. That doesn't mean you can go out and open a Sichuan House.
Yeah.
And so what am I afraid of?
Yeah.
Because
it's more than a recipe. It's execution, right?
It's your personality. Exactly. It's how you take care of your people. All people. Your guests. Your staff.
Yeah.
One of the essential books for hospitality industry, Setting the Table, of course.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of mentors in this business.
And you make a good point. I think that's one thing. Like we live in a world today that's so unique that we can literally, whoever we want to be our mentor can be our mentor.
Right. We just got to go reach out and talk.
Just if there's a lot of people that are successful that put publications out, like Danny Meyer, one of the most successful restaurateurs in the world.
How better to validate your expert level than publishing a book on it?
Or there's more and more restaurateurs starting podcasts, right? And I think the future, I think the future of our industry is going to be crowdsourced knowledge sharing. I think that you're going to see traditional education as we know it go away, especially now as we're being forced to homeschool and to to use the internet to formally educate ourselves. And I think you're seeing it happen with masterclasses. Has got $100 million million. Was it you that just told me that, or somebody else told me that earlier today?
Not me.
And like it's just like there's a shift happening right now.
Absolutely.
For sure. So we can find mentors everywhere. Not to get too far off track, but to bring it back to your story, look where you are now, 5 years, right, at Sichuan House. Reflecting back to who you were when you came here with no experience in the industry, how have you grown? How have you evolved? Like, what were some of the things you were doing then that you just shake your head at, and what are you doing differently now as far as your evolution goes?
Well, at the very beginning, I was in the trenches, and I will not mind getting in the trenches, but of course, and it does take that. I mean, and you definitely have to go into it with an open mind. You are the front of the house. You are the back of the house. You are the electrician. You are the ice machine fixer. You are the plumber. You are like whatever the restaurant needs you to do. You got to do it, because unless you have just bokus of capital that you're sitting on that you can just hire anybody to do it for you, which would not be wise to blow your budget. That way you got to figure out how to do stuff out on your own. But I've definitely learned to communicate better. I do feel like I've grown as a leader, and the relationships that I have with my team, the understanding of where we are, and that's a constant growth. I've become more confident as an individual myself. I've done a lot of self-reflection. When you said, did I hit my head? And I said, I bought a house. is real, because when I bought that house, it was the first time in the last 5 years where I didn't have to come into the restaurant. And so I was actually away from the restaurant almost for 40 days, 40 nights. It was like an extra, existential crisis experience that I had. But as I'm moving into this brand new home, I'm unpacking 30 years of my life, of all the stuff that I've accumulated, thought processes, physical things. And let me tell you, it was emotional.
I bet. I can imagine.
But kind of taking that time of meditation, if you will, is so important because you do need that time to process. It's like you're bombarded with so much information, and every day in the restaurant business or in life in general, you're bombarded with more information. It's so hard to extract what is important. Why does this make sense? And a lot of times it's just keep going, go. And then you're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah.
So that time did allow me to kind of really process and reflect. Why did I date these guys? Why did I make that mistake? Why did I hire this person? And then you can see clearly the dots. Like, I mean, your brain is this sponge, and you're trying to pick and choose each piece of information that actually makes sense and look at, okay, that's why this happened. I will not do this anymore.
Yeah, it's good. Like, sometimes we need to slow down and just absorb and process.
That's
and we're
right.
just so, like you said, go, charge ahead. And it's like, even like on the way down here, like I was talking with Casey and we were talking about success. He's like, I think you're successful. I'm like, I don't. I feel like I'm not there yet. I'm just looking to the future. But you have to stop and process and be like, you have to look back. You have to look backwards. You're like, I'm looking forwards, but you have to stop and be like, well, holy shit, I was way back there.
Right.
I forgot how far I've come.
That's right.
That's right. And that's so powerful. It's so important to do that, to get that perspective, to breathe and realize you are doing the right thing.
That's right. That's right.
I love
and
it.
It's a balance of staying humble so that you can keep pushing yourself forward and always knowing that there is room for improvement, but also taking the time to give yourself enough credit that you deserve, because a lot of times we are our own biggest enemy. Like there's so many times I have conversations with my parents and I realize I get real emotional and I'm like, well, if I have this conversation with anybody else, I could give two shits. It's not going to get me all teary-eyed and emotional. Why is this making me feel this way? And I realize it's because I have some sort of inadequacy feeling internally that's kind of bringing up these emotions that have nothing to necessarily, well, it has everything to do with them, but not necessarily that specific conversation topic.
We're back. And the reason you came on my radar was because of your response to COVID-19 and how well you handled it, and what we can learn for you to kind of maybe adopt some of these best practices into our own business.
Sure.
So take us through that. What was your business like, say, like in February, the end of February? Like, what were your numbers like? What were you doing? What were you focused on, full service, or were you doing any kind of delivery? Like, just get into, like, break it down, that picture for us.
Well, we've always been a very experience-driven restaurant.
Okay.
And so 82% of our business is dine-in. And we did zero delivery. And prior to that, of course, Grubhub and DoorDash, they've approached us before. And some of them have even put us on their platform without us even realizing it. But, of course, they wouldn't bill us for that because we didn't sign anything. The margins that they were asking for, it just didn't make sense for us because you want 20% or 30%. You had to keep in mind that a very, very healthy restaurant is making about 20% profit margin. So that means if I sell you something for $10, I'm only making $2 off of it if I'm lucky. And Uber wants $3 of that. Where is that going to come from? How am I going to pay my staff? And so, I mean, we were forced to look into delivery options because we're having to close our. It's
your computer over there.
We're having to close our dining room. So, sure, we can do curbside pickup, but I want to be able to bring my product to my guests. That first week that we were shut down, there was such an outpour of love from our most loyal guests, of just, the generosity of their gratuities and ordering and so forth. But we know that in the long term, I know you're helping me right now, but dude, you can't spend $100 every day at a restaurant every single day and keep us all afloat. We've got to take things into our own hands and figure things out. So when it all happened, well, first
when it all happened, COVID. Yeah. But before COVID, you said 80% of your gross was in-house, and you did 20% delivery pickup.
No delivery, just pickup.
Okay.
Just takeout.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to make sure people understood that. So take it from there.
And then, so we switched over from an old basic system over to Toast back in 2017. And the reason that happened was because our Bluetooth connection went out for whatever reason with the front and at the front of house and the back of house printer. So we were physically having to run tickets to the back, which you think it's not a big deal, but no, every second counts when you're busy.
Absolutely.
So that's the straw that broke the camel's back. And I started looking into different point of sale systems and so forth. And we decided to go with Toast.
What was it about Toast? And side note, Toast is a current sponsor.
Oh,
and
okay.
I did not know. Did I know before this? That
I know.
Toast?
No.
This is why. This is the only company I'd be willing to do a CPA model, cost per acquisition, which means we only get paid unless you use our links to go with Toast.
Gotcha.
And they're taking care of us. They're going to pay us $2,500 for every
very
lead
cool.
we send. We're splitting it with you, our listeners. So if you use our link to get Toast, we will send you a check for $1,000 after taxes,
nice.
right? And Toast is pretty much matching that with the incentives they're offering to use our link. So I don't need to. I'm not here to pitch. I'm just saying this is why that we're doing this deal with Toast, because we believe in them that much, because so many people recommend them. So what was it about Toast that made you go with? In 2017, there was a lot of options.
There were, and there still are.
Yeah.
I guess at the time, I have very specific needs for front of house, back of house, and in the communication aspect. So a huge component of what I need in a POS is the dual language, to have even if the interface itself is not in Mandarin, it has to be able to print out in Mandarin, or it has to support the characters to show up on the screen. Some of the providers at the time did not have that option, and then some of the other providers at the time were an arm and a leg. So we went with Toast, and I'm really glad we did. They're very proactive. They're very responsive. They're constantly coming up with new, they're just on top of it. They know what their customers want. They listen to what their customers want, and then they develop the platform to do so. I mean, they came out with their own delivery system that's powered by DoorDash on the back end amidst this crisis. And they did that within a month and a half or something. So it's incredible.
And 3/4 of their entire employee staff, or their staff,
are
restaurant people.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's like really for restaurants, by restaurants. And I mean, we can go on and on about
Toast
Toast.
pitch over.
Right?
We love Toast.
I know.
But I just wanted to learn a little bit more there. So I'm assuming that Toast plays into the delivery.
It does.
And online ordering a little bit?
Not the delivery component for us, but it does play into the online ordering. So we actually launched the online ordering component back in December. But this is very important. Our URL for ordering online was toasttab.com/Sichuan-house. You say that 3 times fast and tell your customers, right? You can't. So I've had the domain name SichuanEats.com, and the wonderful people at Summer Glen Creative have been helping me with this. And I just can never put it together, because there's an About Me section, there's a photo gallery, there's whatever you would think about, all this content that you want to write, and then we are shut down. Then at this point, wait a minute, I don't need all that stuff, because people already know where we are, who we are. They just need a way to order.
Yep.
So then we created this really simple landing page, and it of course redirects out to toasttab.com/Sichuan-house. But I tell my guests, go to SichuanEats.com.
Yep.
Order.
And then, so is that a practice that you recommend everybody does?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So before, when we had the online ordering up back in December, from December to, let's just say, March, up until closing of the dining rooms, online sales were 0.2% of all of our sales.
Wow.
Now online sales make up 50% of our sales. And when your dining room is closed, this is
before COVID-19.
I'm sorry.
Was this before COVID-19? So you made the switch?
Oh, no. We launched our website after our dining room was shut down.
Okay, gotcha.
We launched that website probably in 3 days.
Gotcha.
Because we focused on the key things. What are my new operating hours? How do you order online? how do you order for delivery, links to my social medias because and review sites if you want to know about us and then you want to see our pictures.
So
they're all
before
there.
COVID-19, you had a whole separate website.
We didn't even have one.
You didn't have a website? Wow.
No, we just had Instagram, Facebook. We have online presence.
Okay.
We didn't have a website, but we had online presence.
Okay.
We if you look us up on Yelp and Google, we've got lots of reviews. And then Facebook page and Instagram, we're involved with the community and so forth. And
so you create a website, Sichuan Eats, and the whole purpose of that website is to redirect people to. I got 3 things: how to order, right?
How to order, our new operating hours,
and then you just redirect. So you land on Sichuan Eats, they click on that link, and that brings them to
the online
Toast.
portal. Yes, because then when they order through Toast, that portal, it feeds directly into our kitchen. I'm not having to transfer an order that I receive one way into another device. That's an extra step.
Okay.
So that component was there. We just needed the building out the website helped make that transition more seamless. And when you switch over from a dine-in to a takeout only model, you do have different set of logistics. We're not allowing people to come into our dining room. So what do? They're going to call us. Well, we don't have a switchboard.
Yeah.
And so when people call and they can't get through, they're either going to think you're not open or you're, just not being responsive or whatever it is.
Yep.
So what was funny is I actually set up our phones back in the day with our primary number being a cell phone line.
Okay.
And it's forwarded over to a landline.
Okay.
So we can text from it. So on my website, I'm also telling people, hey, text us. If you can't get through the phone, it's because we're on the other line.
What services are you using to do that? Like technologies, or can you think of the names?
Just an iPhone, and it's an Apple iPhone, and then Time Warner cable. Time Warner is
forward so you can send. You don't.
Oh yeah. Like this on your phone, you can just forward your number to whatever phone number you.
Oh, I did not know that. See, you are a tech person. Interesting.
I'll show you here.
Show the camera.
So I'm on my phone here. Oh wait, my phone number's on there too. And then there's this call forwarding button.
Call forwarding button.
And
cool.
then you just turn that on, and it says forward.
Oh my gosh.
And so
we need to come interview you more often. This is amazing. So you forward that's another trick we learned.
Right.
Is it worth getting back to the online ordering?
Well,
path? I don't want to make it too convoluted.
It's all about communication.
Okay.
A little bit of communication goes a long way.
Major in communication.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we need to be able to talk to our customers. Our customers need to be able to talk to us. And when I'm on the phone with another customer, I can't talk to you. But guess what? I can multitask. You can message me on. I can talk to a customer on the phone and then have someone else respond to a text message.
Yep.
Or they can even call. Now that customer has texted us, we can even call them back from a different number. That's fine.
Yeah, and if you're using your Mac, your MacBook, you can even type.
That's right. And that
messaging.
actually is a huge component of our delivery program too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So what components are what things are coming together that we've touched right now? You have Toast, which is tied to your POS where people are going to order.
Right.
You have a landing page that you built on.
So it's a WordPress landing page, but Summer Glen Creative is the agency who help us put it together.
Okay.
And they're actually doing something incredible right now. Hosting you have to pay for anyways.
Yeah.
But they're offering a complimentary landing page for retail businesses with the purchase of their hosting.
Got you.
And so people can have a website.
Okay.
That's a huge thing.
And then you have your iOS technology.
Right.
And what else have we?
And then the last component is the delivery component. We're using an application called Returns.
Okay.
And Returns is it's not a customer-facing platform, so I wouldn't go to Returns to order. Therefore, I'm not giving up a margin per se.
Okay.
I'm using Returns as a management system to internally dispatch drivers. So what we have done is we've had our employees, in-house employees, register as contract drivers with Returns.
Okay.
And when and we're scheduling them in blocks because that's what Amazon does.
So now you got them a job.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
there
I
you
don't
go.
have to furlough them.
Okay.
So they're now able to do these deliveries for me, and then I am able to control exactly how much money I want to pay for this delivery to be delivered.
Got you.
Redundant, sorry.
No, I got you. No. So you're just outsourcing basically the delivery component with a returns.
Just the liability component,
yeah.
really.
And now, because now you don't have to get insurance because the returns app is
the employer of the
taking
drivers.
that burden.
That's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just the middleman.
That's right.
That's genius.
Right. So that's what we're doing. I mean, back to to kind of skirt back to Uber Eats and Grubhub and such. They do offer a great service, but I do think that
make sure you're talking straight into the mic. You're good.
The positioning is very incorrect. It's they will say that you get so much exposure and so much yada 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 in exchange for this 30% or 20%, whatever it is, but you're not. You have to think about it as an advertising expense.
Yeah.
I could see this app being functional or like very valuable for someone who might be a newcomer in this business and they don't have a loyal
and they're trying to get
fan
discovered.
base. They're trying to get discovered. Yeah. So you're on this platform with all these other restaurants. But for many restaurants who have been around for a while, we do have a loyal guest base. And why would I pay you an advertising fee of 30% to advertise to customers that are already shopping from me?
Yeah, and that's
it's
the
like,
thing.
would Toast give me $1,000 right now because I'm already a Toast customer?
Yeah, and they're going to say that they're driving business to your restaurant, and that's where maybe initial business.
Right.
But the thing is, people are creatures of habit.
That's right.
And we're not going to change our habits to order when if we already have our credit card information loaded. We get used to just I'm hungry.
That's right.
I'm gonna grab my phone.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna hit Uber Eats because like I've been trained to do that because I'm a monkey, and that's what happens. And we develop these habits, these routines, and when we train the general public to use these apps to do those things, it's hard to get them to stop doing those things.
Unless you're not on the app to begin with, and then they have to come to you directly.
Yeah, because you're so good, right? But that's hard to do, and it's hard to get people to break those habits.
Right.
It's hard to get people to say, please don't use Uber Eats. Please just go straight to our online ordering platform. And if your online ordering platform is junk, which it won't be if you use Toast, just throwing that out there, then it's hard to to break those. We can't underestimate how hard it is to break habits in the consumer.
Absolutely. And so the thing about returns, I was talking to Anna about it, and when I explained it to her, she's like, it sounds like you've pretty much like duct taped together a solution that's working out for you really, really well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's not a one-step thing. There's multiple components going on, and it is in this process we've delivery is our new product that we're bringing to the market. So what do we have to think about if we're marketing a new product? We got to think about where we're placing it. What are we pricing it at? Do I pass this charge on to the customer, or do I eat this charge myself? Where am I placed? Or I said that already. Where am I going to go? Like, where do I distribute to? And who is involved in this process? Your people and so forth. So it's a bringing a new thing to market.
Yeah.
And in that process, we will communicate with our guests. So we have messages that are already not necessarily preloaded, but just a guideline for my staff to follow. And it goes along the lines of, let's see if I can find it here. Oh my goodness. It's like, hello, friend. I'm your dedicated hospitality concierge. That is our term that we've coined. This is the hospitality concierge experience, because we're bringing hospitality to you.
Yes.
Contactless, keeping you at home, or contactless curbside pickup. And so I'm your dedicated hospitality concierge. You can text this number at any 12 to 8 and so forth. Your address has been confirmed to be in our delivery zone. Please respond with a picture of where you would like us to set your delivery. So now, guess what? We also have this interaction with our guests on our cell phone.
Yep.
And if something, now we can be fully responsible for this entire order process, because even with these other apps, I don't know when they're going to get here to take my food out. I don't know who is driving my food. Like if you're a regular at my restaurant and you see your regular server dropping off your food, doesn't that give you a more sense of security that somebody's taking care of you and making sure that your product is getting there safe? And it does give us more control. If something's wrong with your order, I'm going to send somebody right out and take care of it for you. And They call me a control freak, but
No. I mean, I love this. So is there any part of this full picture from, placing the order to getting it in the hands of the guests that we haven't covered yet to paint the big picture?
I don't think so.
So as far as some calls to actions, if people want to replicate this in their business, you're using 1, toast. This was not planned. I swear to God.
Right.
2, returns. And you can do it with those 2 components. You don't need the landing page or any of that.
You don't need a landing page. No. It's definitely helpful to have one just because it's an ease of telling people where to go.
Yeah.
And but online presence is important. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook. When this all happened, we were using these as mediums to communicate this message to our guests as well, saying, hey, Sichuan House is offering this and yada, yada, yada. So they know where to find us, how to find us.
And I don't know if I know it's been said a couple times already. I don't know if it was on air. It might have been before the interview.
Okay.
You're just 10% below where you were 2 months ago before COVID-19.
So we are, so our revenue, if we do a year-over-year comparison from January all the way up until now of 2019, January all the way up until now 2020, we're only behind by 10%.
Only behind by 10%.
Right.
Are you more profitable?
Actually, so even though we're behind on, I can't answer that question for you yet, but my gut instinct is leading towards yes. But yes, because our previous operating hours were 11 to 9. Now I'm open 12 to 8. So we do have reduced labor costs and so forth.
And fewer people working.
And fewer people working. And so... And we don't have any breakage from glasses and so forth. And
no shrinkage, right?
That's right. Less shrinkage.
Yeah. Amazing. This is awesome. I mean, this is what it's all about. And the why I'm so excited about this is because, listen, it's tough out there right now. I'm not going to, call everybody a bunch of wusses and wimps. Like, we got hit hard.
We did. Absolutely.
I just sympathize so bad for people in your position and the restaurateurs around the world. But at the same time, like we said earlier in today's discussion, right? Like, we can get pissed off and be angry and shake our fist at the world, or we can create a solution.
That's right. And at the end of the day, you're an entrepreneur. You chose to do this. You knew that this wasn't going to be easy. This is just another thing that's been thrown at you. So you can either wave the flag or you can think outside the box. And I think some people are afraid to talk about, oh, actually, COVID hasn't been that bad for me.
Right.
People want to say that because COVID has been bad for a lot of people. But it has opened up so many other opportunities. My front of house and back of house communication has never been so seamless. They're communicating more with each other. We're able to look at other opportunities to branch into, like bottling our hot oils and our sauces and getting them into online retail.
Yeah.
And we didn't have time to do that before because I had to worry that the customer was upset about waiting in line for too long.
So, I mean, I think the lesson here, it's like a lot of that came out of our conversation, this idea of just mindfulness, right? And not letting the world get to you when things don't go our way. It doesn't make sense to get angry. It makes sense to find solutions.
It does.
And like, anger takes energy.
That's
and
right.
it absorbs, it swells your conscious mind.
It does.
And it creates a fog that you can't see beyond.
And it gets away.
And when you don't let that fog settle in on you, right? Then you can see opportunity.
You
can see the silver linings.
Step back and not from the bank, but get a step back from being this close, and you see that, okay, that's just one dot.
Yes.
And it's going to be okay.
So if we're interested in adopting this practice, where do we go? How do we
So I'm happy to talk about it. Yeah, the people can reach out to me either via email or on our Instagram at Sichuan Eats, or on my personal Instagram, Kristina Zhao, or you can go to the returns page and download the returns app. Definitely get in touch with the developers on that end, because it is an individually set up process, because everybody's program is going to look different. I'm choosing to, so one thing that we're doing differently is, with every other delivery program out there, you are restricted by a mile radius of travel. We are doing our delivery based off of distance. Based off of travel time, because not all miles are created equally. I live 13 miles away from the restaurant, but it takes me 15 minutes to get here because highway to highway. And if I know most of my guests are in XYZ part of town, why would I not travel to them?
Exactly.
And what we're also doing is we're saying, okay, well, if your order is over a certain threshold, we can complimentarily deliver it to you. But we also notice that the change in takeout order habits. You're not ordering takeout on your way home with one lo mein or one order of something. You're ordering for your whole family. You're gathering at home. And so a lot of people do meet that minimum threshold.
Got you. I've loved this conversation. I really have. This is episode 718. So if you're interested in learning more about Kristina and connecting with Kristina, I'll link to how to contact you in those show notes. So head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/718. And I before we say goodbye, it's tradition here at Restaurant Unstoppable to call some folks out. That's how I find future mentors for my show.
Oh, I have so many.
Yeah, so who are two people? Think of two people, maybe three if you can't just limit it to two, that you respect and admire and believe would make great guest mentors like you've made for us today.
Susan and Peter Seifson, I hope I said that right, from the Cookhouse. Okay. They are phenomenal folks.
Susan and Steven, you said?
Susan and Peter.
Peter, sorry.
And she's been an incredible friend and mentor to me throughout the years. And we met through the restaurant here. Anne and Jeremy from Bakery Lorraine, they're phenomenal people. I mean, there's just too many. I hate being like, I'm going to forget people. They're going to be bad.
Well, maybe you can come on the show when you crack the next code and we can ask some more people to come on.
Sure.
So those are those
two definitely great places to start.
All right, look out, guys. I'm coming at you. We already told the folks how to connect with you, but just one more time, drop it on us, how to connect.
So we're on our restaurant Instagram is at Sichuan Eats, SICHUAN, and then my EATS, and then my Instagram is at XTINAZEEEEE.
Beautiful. And this is episode 718 again. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/718 to connect and to share this knowledge. And that's what this is all about. It's about coming together, sharing knowledge, and making the industry stronger because of it. And there is no questioning that you are unstoppable. Thank you so much, Kristina, for coming on and sharing that knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
It was our pleasure. Cheers. If you enjoyed this video, please help us out. You can do it by liking, sharing, subscribing, and hitting that bell icon. It really helps out. And don't forget, there's a complete archive of every episode with show notes at restaurantunstoppable.com.